The iPhone 16 series just dropped. Let's talk about it. If we focus on the phone as a whole, you'll hear many of the same things that you do pretty much every single year. The screen is nice, the speakers are good, using it is smooth, and the camera takes great photos. Here's 100 different reasons the iPhone 16 is marginally better than the iPhone 15. And there are a ton of videos out there that do that. They compare all these different things and gets into that niche nitty-gritty details. Instead, for this video, I want to focus on the new features for this year's model and my experience with those features to see if this iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 16 is worth it as an upgrade for you. So here's my first 7 days living with the iPhone 16 and iPhone 16 Pro. For all models this year, the prices are exactly the same, at least in the US. But there's a few new key features. The regular 16 and 16 Plus now have an A18 chip, while the Pro and Pro Max are upgraded to an A18 Pro chip. All that Pro label really means for these Pro phones is an extra GPU core, which could be useful to have in games. But honestly, actually using these devices and playing a game like Genshin Impact, I didn't see much difference between the iPhone 16 or iPhone 16 Pro. Both did great on medium settings at 60 frames per second. But what I did notice with at least the Pro phones, since I was coming from a 15 Pro, was that the iPhone 16 Pro runs faster than the outgoing 15 Pro, but it also ran cooler doing the exact same things. The 15s ran really warm at times, but the 16s are much better at this. The Pro line also got a slightly larger display and slightly thinner bezels compared to the regular 16. And realistically, I don't think this matters all too much. It's barely bigger and not all that noticeable, especially when you slap both of them into a case. And the only time you would really notice is if you had them side by side comparing sizes. The regular lineup now has the action button. This is a button that replaces the mute switch that started with the iPhone 15 Pro. If you haven't used an iPhone with the action button, well, it's great. You can set the button to activate a few different functions that are pre-made or use shortcuts to make your own unique functions that suit your life the best. As for me, I'm using the action button to control the main functions of the cars in my home, like turning on the AC before I get inside of them or locking and unlocking doors. Since I live in hot Houston, Texas, this is essential. This is the difference between looking like a human being or looking like muck after an intense cardio session for an hour. If you own a car with Wi-Fi capabilities like a Tesla, a Rivian, a Lucid, or really any car with app control, the action button is so convenient for this function. You can get way more creative than that and set that action button to do basically anything that you're able to set up in the iOS Shortcuts app. There's a subreddit focused solely on iOS shortcuts, and if that's something you want to do more research on and find the best function for you, I'd check that out. But the most notable feature added to the entire iPhone 16 lineup is the camera control button. It lets you quickly get to your camera and gives you greater control over it, like you would on a mirrorless or DSLR camera. But because of that camera control button, when you purchase a phone case for your shiny new iPhone 16 or 16 Pro, you'll now have to think about cases that work with the new camera control, like from today's sponsor, Taurus, and their O-Stand 360 degrees spin case for the iPhone 16 series. These phone cases come in a few colors that complement your new iPhone 16 device with solid and cured colored cases in Dune, Onyx, or Ivory. And the cutout design balances the capture button's functionality with a smooth sliding experience. Each case is built-in MagSafe, so it just works with MagSafe accessories like this Taurus Mini MagSafe power bank. And this O shape on the back actually rotates and swivels and acts as a stand for your phone, giving you basically a protective phone case, ring grip, kickstand, and MagSafe functionality all in a single case. This case kind of has it all, and that O-stand can be used to get a better grip for camera control, but also as a stand when you're resting it on your nightstand, in your kitchen while you're following a YouTube recipe, or even at your desk to have a podcast or video playing in the background. And if you're looking to make better use of MagSafe overall, Taurus also offers a grip holder ring accessory for better control on how you hold your phone, and their Mini MagSafe power bank that I mentioned earlier. This is a thin wireless power bank that can extend your phone's battery life. So if you're interested in Taurus and their O-Stand 360 degrees spin cases or any of their MagSafe accessories, check out the link in the video description below. And thanks again to Taurus for sponsoring this portion of the video. So with camera control, you can adjust exposure, aperture, zoom, and even styles by lightly pressing it twice and then swiping to what function you want to adjust. As a content creator, I love this feature because it lets me treat my iPhone camera exactly like how I would treat a real DSLR or mirrorless camera. But for regular everyday people who are just trying to survive school or work and living out their daily lives, I realistically see this button for them as just a way to quickly open up their camera and snap a picture. You can also use camera control from most of the places on your phone, like when you're using Safari, while you're texting, or while you're watching YouTube videos. And for that, it is so much faster than swiping up, leaving your app, and scrambling on the home screen searching for the camera app. So if that was the goal, then mission accomplished. I'm guessing this is going to be an important part of the new Apple Intelligence features that are coming later this year. I hope the camera control button becomes more context aware in the future though. For example, right, if I'm messaging someone and I press the camera control button, you would think I am taking an image that I'm about to send someone because I thought something was funny or I'm trying to share a moment with them. But instead, it just takes me to the regular camera app where I have to snap the picture and go back into my messaging app, pick the picture that I'm trying to send to them, and then send it on their way, which is a couple steps too many, in my opinion, with this dedicated button. Also, at this time, most camera apps don't fully support it yet, including Apple's own Final Cut camera app. You can only press the button to start recording, nothing else. So it's not a fully fleshed out feature. And many of the other third-party camera apps that I've used also did the same thing. It doesn't seem to be fully baked into a lot of different apps just yet. But since it's now a dedicated button to open the camera, and you already could just swipe left to open the camera from your lock screen, it makes the camera button that appears on the bottom kind of redundant. But on the bright side, iOS 18 lets you change the apps to other apps, shortcuts, or functions, meaning now you have greater flexibility to control how you use your phone, and you can just replace that camera button with something else altogether. The camera controls through this button are also features you already have with on-screen buttons in the iPhone camera. It's just now all in a single place for faster access. So it's not like you're missing all the features that come with the camera control on older phones. It just makes it faster and easier to access your camera when you get used to it. And you really do need to get used to it. I have big hands, so using this button is fine, at least on the smaller iPhone 16 and 16 Pro. But it's a little awkward at times trying to press it and makes your shot shakier than usual. I'm still adjusting to it, but if you're having a hard time using this button the way you want, or it's too sensitive or not sensitive enough, you can adjust the camera control's sensitivity through the accessibility settings. Under camera settings, you can also change what camera app opens when the button is pressed. When the camera control UI is active, you don't have to use the button anymore. You can just adjust the settings with the touchscreen instead. They seem to have thought a lot about how to use this button, but at the same time, while those apps have some level of camera control integration, it's pretty bare bones. The last camera related upgrade this year is that the 16 Pros get 4K 120 frames per second Dolby Vision recording, which is nice as a content creator to have that option, and that does give me a lot of flexibility with that kind of high frame rate footage. But unless you get the higher tier storage sizes or plan to have external storage constantly plugged in to record it, your phone will be filled up pretty quick. And honestly, at that point, it's just as inconvenient as carrying a regular camera around. It's a nice but completely niche feature. You might have heard me say throughout this video, as a content creator. I'm not saying this to be pretentious, but it's more because for most people, like my non-techie friends and family, those features don't really change a thing about how they use their phones, but it's something that I might find useful in the process of creating content, and that's why I say it like that. I find it amazing, but for everyday folks, it's gonna be borderline useless. Okay, let's quickly talk about battery life. The battery life on the 16 Pros have been great. Much better than my iPhone 15 Pro, even if we account for the battery degradation that's happened after a year on that 15. It's been handling it well every single day. Most days I find myself around 15 to 25% left with my 15 Pro, and with the 16 Pro this past week, it's been more like 30 to 40% left at the end of the day. I haven't had the need to charge my phone in the middle of the day, unlike the iPhone 15 Pro, where there were some days where I desperately needed a charge in the middle of the day. All right, so now let's talk about the elephant in the room. One of the biggest announcements Apple made about their phones this year is Apple Intelligence. This is Apple's version of AI features built into their devices. This is kind of similar to Google and Android phones adding in some cool AI features like Magic Editor or Circle to Search. Apple is trying to do the same, but kind of in their own way. These features will start making their way into the iPhone 15 Pro and the iPhone 16 series sometime during fall 2024, with more features added through time. So right now, we can't really talk about how useful these features are just yet to these phones, but they do open the door to a ton of new things that you can do with your iPhone. I just wouldn't buy an iPhone 16 just for these features alone, but it is coming and definitely interesting, and I can't wait to try it out, only to see if it's one of those things that it's worth using, or it's just a feature that I forgot existed until someone brings it up to me a year or two later. We'll see. But that's it. Those are the upgrades over the outgoing iPhone 15 lineup. A better camera, camera controls, longer battery life, and new processors that run faster and cooler. But knowing all of this, which one should you get from the lineup? At least to me, phones aren't really special anymore. They've basically been an appliance at this point. They're an item that you don't really upgrade unless your last one isn't meeting your expectations anymore. And if I wasn't a tech-related content creator, I would seriously consider not bothering to upgrade every year. I think I'd be a upgrade once every 3 years kind of person. There's just not many changes each year to justify spending so much money on a new device. So the result of this is kind of what I've said the last few years. Just replace your phone with the newest one when it's served its purpose. But I think moving forward with these yearly iPhone releases, I want to focus more on that everyday person experience, an upgrade from a phone 3 or 4 years ago. And when I view it from that kind of lens, everything kind of shifts your perspective, right? So here's what I think if you're coming from an iPhone 13. If your phone is still in good condition and it's working and doing all the things that you'd want out of your phone, then just get a battery replacement. It's $100, but should be good for another 2 or so years. And by that point, your phone might be close to losing software support and not get the latest OS updates anymore. And at that point, that is prime time to finally decide to get a new one. So instead, let's look at this like your old phone's battery is crap, the screen is cracked, or you're just ready to move on and get some of those new features that everyone's been hyping up. And if you're in that camp, then I'd look heavily at the regular iPhone 16 first, because this year, value-wise, it's so much better than the Pros. You get like 95% of the iPhone 16 Pro, but for $200 cheaper. But at the same time, there are some nice features that the cheaper iPhone 16s are missing that might make you consider the more expensive Pros, like the 120Hz display, which makes the phone feel smoother in day-to-day usage just scrolling on it, and that 5x telephoto lens, which you may or may not care about depending on how you like taking pictures. Okay, sure, you get better gaming performance on the Pro, but it's not noticeable in everyday use. Also, the color selection is so much better on the regular iPhone 16s. The Pros only have these neutral colors that are as inoffensive as possible, but the regular iPhones have expressive fun colors, like this really interesting teal color or this bright pink. So if you're looking at getting a new iPhone this year, I'd look at the iPhone 16 first. But if you shoot using the telephoto cameras or you want a 120Hz display, then get the Pros. You won't regret it either, but you are paying a bit of a premium for it. My wife was dead set on getting the 16 because it was so pretty in that pink, she says. But she couldn't live without the 120Hz Pro Motion display. So here I am, out of more money. Anyway, what do you personally think? Is the iPhone 16 good enough to tempt you to upgrade? What features stand out? What features are missing? What should be included next year? I think I might need to revisit this in a few months to see if my opinion has changed, especially with Apple Intelligence. Let me know in the comment section below, and well, I'll see you all next time. Bye.